Suspend your disbelief, your rational, analytic mind, just for a minute, just for the length of this podcast. What if all I am about to tell you is the truth? What if the information you will be provided is from a divine source? Just for this time, I am your Axis Mundi. Consider this podcast your channel, your second opinion. When I do a reading, something larger than myself is working through me. So ask what you wish. This is your channel, your doorway to the divine. Well, welcome to JohnsTarot. Welcome to you from wherever in the world you may be listening to this podcast. Welcome to you from Edinburgh, Scotland.
You are talking to a man who has laughed in the face of death, sneered at doom, and chuckled at catastrophe.
Well, welcome to you from, I have them written down, Ohio.
I'm trying to free your mind, Neo, but I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it.
Welcome to you from North Carolina.
Open the pod bay doors, please, Hal.
Welcome to you from Alberta, Canada.
Try to relax. This will feel a little weird.
Welcome to you from New Brunswick, Canada.
I can no longer sit back and allow communist infiltration, communist indoctrination, communist subversion, and the international communist conspiracy to sap and impurify all of our precious bodily fluids.
Welcome to you from New Zealand.
Well, I'm very pessimistic.
All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain.
Oh, that was a little mistake. You got two of them there in New Zealand and from Vietnam. What do we got here?
I know some of you getting nervous, scratching your head, folding your arms. You got heartburn, headache.
Yeah. Well, welcome to you all to JohnsTarot. This week I've got a couple topics I'm going to talk about. As I always talk about weird topics. One of the topics I'm going to talk about, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Tao and Taoism. And what is Taoism? Who are we? Who are we really? And I'm going to talk a little bit about the, what do they call it? Signal gate? There we go. The signal gate problem, the issue with signal gate, where my opinions, some thoughts on signal gate. And finally, I'm going to talk to you about the Trump administration decreasing the staff at the CDC and NIH, which has me a little concerned, to tell you the truth. But first, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Tao, a little bit. And the reason I'm going to talk to you about the Tao is because I had that issue come up this week at work, believe it or not. And how that came up at work, I had a young guy working with me, a young student, and I had a patient who was not cooperating. And his family wanted me to fix him, wanted me to fix the issues related to this guy. But this guy is refusing all treatment, flat out refusing. And I can't force anybody to receive treatment. I can't force anybody, for me to get their blood sugars. And, it's really kind of frustrating. But his family wasn't there. He's refusing everything. So I just waited. And I did talk to the family, and I told them what was going on. I called them. And then I just waited. And they eventually showed up. And we took care of some of those issues for the patient. And I mentioned to my student, I go, you know what that was, don't you? And he's kind of like, what was that? I go, that was the Taoist principle of Wu Wei. And this is a 21-year-old American, quite sure what I was talking about, Wu Wei, the use of the Tao. So I explained a little bit of the Tao to him and how you can use the Tao. Let me explain a little bit of the Tao to you. So the Tao, I have an article up here, and I'll just review the article, and we'll take a look at it together. This is on from a from the speech by Alan Watts. Now, the Tao, essentially, the first thing when you talk about the Tao, according to the article, the first is the Tao itself. There is no definition for it. It's called the way, or the course of things. It's what everything basically is, and what you are, and cannot be defined, and should not be defined. The Tao is a force that flows through all people, all events, and all matter. And I guess the closest thing we could use to talk about the Tao is we could call it, it's called the way, the watercourse way. And what that means is that if you were swimming in a river, and you could either swim with the current or against the current. If you swim with the current, your actions tend to carry with it the power of the river. If you swim against the current, all you can expect is a difficult life course. And this is called the way. And people who use the Tao, this thing that exists, tend to do that. They go with the flow. They go with the current. And that's called and that's called using the Tao. But it's not a way of force. And that's what I did with this guy. I didn't the second principle, the principle of mutual arising. I kind of like this one too. That is to say, the second principle is mutual arising. That is to say that all great contrasts of life, black and white, positive and negative, or as the Chinese call it, yin and yang, self and other, long and short, are not, as it were, things in conflict. They're like the North and South Pole of a magnet. They go together. And from this arises the fundamental point that you as self are one life with everything you call other. Your inside goes together with everything outside you, and you interdepend. You constitute. You consist of one life. So that our life itself is like the life of the universe. And I'll come back and I'll talk a little bit about that. And I think the third issue in Taoism is called Wu Wei. Wu Wei is by doing nothing, everything is done. By doing nothing, everything is accomplished and everything is not left undone. And what I did with this patient was I used Wu Wei, I used the Tao. So I didn't do anything. I notified the family and then I just waited. And by waiting, I'm using the power of the Tao to resolve the issue. And that's what happened. The family showed up. I had a endocrine nurse practitioner show up, and they got the guy to agree to take his, allow me to do a blood sugar and give him insulin and get that resolved. Now, after that, he wasn't going to do anything else, but I got the initial part of it done. I got done what I can reasonably do, and that's called Wu Wei, using the power of the Tao. And the young man asked me, he said, well, what is the meaning of life? And it's asked me these deep questions. And that's hard to say. But what I can say is this: do you know who you are? And he looked at me somewhat puzzled. And I said, well, have you ever meditated? He goes, no, but I think a lot. When I'm by myself, I think. I go, oh, okay, that's good. You think a lot. And you think and you have these thoughts that go through your head. And you observe these thoughts going through your head. Are you, and I'm asking a young man about personal identity, are you your thoughts, or are you the observer of those thoughts? Who is the observer of those thoughts? That is who you are. And he was like, well, he didn't have an answer for that. And then he asked me about the meaning of life. And I'll say that, and this goes with who you are and with my explanation of the Tao, that we are one with the Tao. We are part of the Tao. So I, as a human being, as I explained to the young guy, this is my interpretation now from my personal experience. And I talked about this in my program about having a spiritual experience. All the molecules in my body are made of the molecules that come from this planet, come from the earth. Oh, potassium, magnesium, carbon, All these things come from the earth. So I, as an individual, do not so much come into this world as I come out of it. The earth itself is a living entity. Because I say that because you cannot get intelligence out of unintelligence. If I come out of the earth, I must be coming out of something intelligent. So I, as an entity, come out of the earth. All my molecules are made from the earth, and everything that's about me comes from the earth. And the earth is an intelligent entity. It has consciousness. The earth is connected to a larger consciousness, that of the solar system. The solar system is connected to a larger consciousness, that being our galaxy. Our galaxy is connected to the rest of the universe and the other galaxies. This all boils down to who I am and what is the meaning of life. For me, the meaning of life, I am a witness to the universe. I am the universe itself, witnessing itself. My actions are the actions of the universe. Things don't so much happen to me as the universe gives me things to look at, things to do, things to address that interest it. And then I fulfill the will of the universe. I and the universe and the world and the galaxy are one living entity, all at the same time. And I see this and identify it and understand it. And that is a little bit about who you are, or who I think I am. Think about this. Are you your thoughts? Are you those racing thoughts? Or are you the observer of those thoughts? The observer of those thoughts is that part of the universe. And that's why I tried to explain to this young man, and he was just baffled. Like, how did you figure that out? A couple of books that came to me early on, and I'll share them with you. I was going to talk a little bit of one of them. The first one that ever came to me was called the I Ching. This is the first book I ever had on, that talks about these things, the illustrated I Ching. And it is an oracle. You can ask it questions, and it will answer you. And someday I'll go into more detail on that. But the I Ching has been a great guide and teacher to me throughout my life. Some of the things it's taught me is like, how do you ask for a favor? Well, I'll tell you, the I Ching taught me how you ask for a favor. How you ask for a favor is first, when you greet somebody, you say, hi, nice to see you. How are you doing? Hey, now I got you here. I was wondering, blah, blah, blah. But you always give them a nice greeting and acknowledgement of their selves, or a compliment. You say something nice, and then you move on to the topic. You just don't jump into the topic. Bob, I need a raise. That's unclassy. And I got that from the I Ching. It doesn't say that per se, but I gleaned it out of the general philosophy within the I Ching. Another thing it taught me was, well, how do you find a career? And I got that from the I Ching, and I'll share it with you because it's a valuable piece of information. I tell it to the young people. Now, in the I Ching, it doesn't, how can I say that? It doesn't directly say this. I inferred it from its general teachings. And the I Ching calls itself the sage, the wise one. If you can follow the sage, the wisdom of the I Ching, your life would be a lot easier, and it's a lot like following the Tao. So how do you find a career? So if you're a young person looking for a career, this is what I did. What I learned from the I Ching is that first, you go out and experiment. What am I good at? What are my strengths and what are my weaknesses? What am I good at? What am I really good at? So you got to experiment with that, and you got to find out. For me personally, I'm good with people. I'm kind of smart, a little bit smart, good with science, interests me, and that's what I'm good at. What's important to you? Now, what was important to me when I was doing this career search, and it's different for each person. What was important to me when I was doing the career search was that I make a little bit of a difference with my life as a result of being here on this earth. Now, I can't change the world. That's beyond my ability. But I can make it a little better place. So that's what's important to me. that I take home something a little bit more than a paycheck. I know that I made a difference in the lives of people. And finally, what you want to ask yourself is what resources are available to me given my circumstances. So I was coming out of very difficult circumstances, to say the least. I'll tell you about that sometime. I'll do an issue on recovery and change. And these books were instrumental in my change. And so what resources are available to me? What resources were available to me was I have a community college real close here, and I was able to retrain myself in a community college and get a nursing degree and go on and get additional education. And it kind of fit all three of my prerequisites. I'm good at people. I'm good with people. I care about people. Two, that I want to make a difference. And three, what resources are available to me. And nursing is what fit all these things. Now, it might be different for you. It's different for all people. Maybe what's important to you is that you have your own business and that you are independent and that you're able to support your family. Finances is certainly a part of this question. Will this thing I'm doing support me? And, it's different for everybody, but you got to ask yourself those questions and think about them for a while. And that's what I did. And I got that out of the I Ching. So, I've been playing with the I Ching. It came to me about 36 years ago. I didn't even know such a thing existed. And it came to me because I was practicing Buddhism. I was really crazy at the time, too. Some problems with substance abuse. And somebody gave me and I started practicing Buddhism, and somebody thought it would be a good idea. They saw this, they had Chinese writing on it, and they gave it to me, and I didn't know what it was. It took me a while to figure it out, and I figured it out. I started asking it questions, and it answered my questions. You could just use the coin method. It will answer your questions. And then when I finally did get sober, I had the benefit of having a sponsor, somebody in that program to give me guidance so I could talk to. Is this a good idea? That a good idea? And I also had the benefit of the I Ching to ask questions about life. And, it pointed things out to me, like how selfish I was and how I thought that everything that happened to me had to do with me personally. And that's not true. That's just being me being self-centered, pointing out my self-centeredness. And it helped guide me on this career path. And I didn't know how I was going to do this career path. I used the Tao. I had big financial problems and a real poor academic record, but things all worked out. I worked through all the obstacles. All the doors opened up for me. I eventually became an ICU nurse at the hospital I work at, using the power of the Tao, using the I Ching as a guide, and just doing the right thing. So I just wanted to talk about that. Who are you? Who am I? I am a bit of the consciousness of the universe experiencing itself. And I am fulfilling the will of the universe in the things I do. When I am engaged in helping people and making a difference in people's lives, I feel at one with the universe. I feel at one with the planet. I feel like this is what Gaia would have me do. And I feel real grounded. And I feel like this is the right thing. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's how it works for me. That's who I am. Who are you? Maybe that's for you to figure out. All right, let me move on to my next next little pondering for you. And that will be the signal, the signal issue. Because signal gate, they're calling it. So what happened was somehow the U.S. government, guys in our government, got involved in a group chat, and they included a journalist. Now, I just do not believe that. The people we have hired, I'm not that impressed with these people, but certainly they cannot be that challenged that they would include a journalist. So what I believe has happened is, first of all, they shouldn't have been using, Signal. They shouldn't have been using Signal as a chat room. They have secure ways of doing confidential conversations that involve our security, our military. They shouldn't have been used as signal, but they did, and they got caught. But how did they get caught? And like I said, I don't think they were that. I don't think they're that stupid. What happened is, I think Signal is not secure. It got hacked. So somebody hacked Signal and put this I forget what his name is. They put this journalist's name in there so that he would be included in the conversation. So the Signal got hacked. Now, who would do such a thing? Now, when I think about it, we have currently, our current administration has made a lot of enemies. But would Russia do this? No, because they've probably been hacked into this, and this would interfere in their intelligence operations. They had a free line into what's going on in our government. They wouldn't have spilled the beans like that. Well, how about Iran? Would Iran have done this? No, they probably are getting information from Russia, or they were also hacked in. How about North Korea? Would North Korea have done this? No, North Korea, if they can get some free intel, they're going to take free intel. I don't think any of our major enemies would hack in there and then give up their sources. It was a valuable money-saving resource for all of them. They wouldn't hack into it. Who else is kind of mad with the current administration? Foreign and domestic. Foreign, possibly the Ukraine. Ukraine is probably not very happy with them. Probably Europe. The EU is probably not very happy with our current government and tariffs. Canada, who used to be one of our best friends, but they have a good right to be upset and to try to upset this current administration. And then there's inside groups. How about so there was foreign and domestic. How about domestic groups? What domestic groups would do this? Possibly Anonymous. Maybe Anonymous hacked in there and did this exposure. It sounds like something they would do. Inside the Democratic Party. You know what? I am going to take this to the tarot, and we're going to ask the tarot and take a look inside this issue. And then I'll ask the tarot, we'll ask it foreign or domestic, and I'll ask it about a couple of the groups I just named. And thirdly, I want to talk about this one I saw this one this morning, and it upset me. Staff at the CDC and NIH are reeling as Trump administration cuts the workforce. Now, the last time he did that, we had a major pandemic. You think somebody would learn. And why don't I ask the tarot a little bit about that? You think somebody would learn their lesson. He did this last time he was in office. He cut back on disease prevention, foreign disease detection, and then we got hit by a big pandemic, and everybody knows what happened. And I served on the front line of that, and I just don't want that to happen again. So let me move over to the tarot page, and we'll talk a little bit about that. There we go. I'm on the tarot page. There's a background from the area and I live. I usually try to pick what I call a numinous place. A numinous means, how can I say, sacred or holy. What makes this a numinous place is I live there. I live in this area. The other ones I usually use are the backgrounds of the Temple of Apollo at Delphi. I feel that's a numinous place, a place of great power, spiritual power, and that's a numinous place. So this background is of a numinous locale near me. So let's ask the cards first. Let me get to that, and let's shuffle the deck. My ability to read tarot is a gift, an expression of divine love, and I'm here to share it with you in that same spirit. So, we're going to talk a little bit about Signal Gate. And I'll do 6 cards, yes or no. And I've done this before. And so I want 6 cards. 6 cards, yes or no. I can move this out of the way, and I can move. I can't. 6 cards, yes or no. Move. Let's see if I can. There we go. I'll do it like that. 6 cards, yes or no. Was this issue with Signalgate, was this a foreign, was this done by a foreign power? And swords and swords and pentacles are no. Cups and wands are yes. 6 cards. So was this Signalgate, was this instigated by a foreign power? My first card, the Tower. How appropriate. But I don't read the I don't read the major arcana when I do this. And now I'll move it over here a little bit. The second card was this done? Signalgate started by a foreign power, the devil. Oh man, and there's a lot of information here. The third card, the 5 of Pentacles. So that's a no. I got 2 nut countings and a no. And then the third card, the Wheel of Fortune. I don't count it. I don't count the major arcana. And then the 5th card, King of Cups. That's a yes. So what is the final card? Was this done by a foreign entity? The Signalgate, this hacking of the Signal chat room, the world. Man, I got a lot of interesting cards here. I got to draw one more card because I got 1 yes and 1 no. 1 king, 1 cups, and 1 pentacle. Was this done by a foreign entity? The 20. I forget the name of that card. It's another major arcana. And then this is, I've never had this many cards come up like this before. This was the Justice card, number 11. All major arcana. This was a big deal. This was a big deal. And then let's get a final card on it. The 3 of Swords. So I got 2 no's and 1 yes. This was not done by a foreign entity. So it looks like Ukraine, Europe, and Cuba, or Canada, are off the list. Let's gather the deck. Before I move on to the next reading, I wanted to address this current reading that I'm on. I've come back and recorded this a little later. I was kind of shocked when all these major arcana cards came out. It's been my experience that the electronic deck is just as accurate as a regular deck. And it is highly unusual for me to get 9 cards on 9 major arcana cards on a 6-card reading. So the tarot is trying to get my attention on this issue, and it got my attention. Oh, I noticed. I definitely noticed. But on a public forum like this, I am not going to poke my nose into private affairs that are none of my business. I'm not going to discuss classified intelligence information on a public forum on a tarot reading. I'm just not going to do it. It's none of my business. I'm not going to do it. This is just done for fun. It's just done for entertainment purposes. Maybe I'll take a look at it on JohnsTarot.net. I'll put it up on the webpage. I'll hide it in there somewhere. It is classified. Maybe I'll do that. I've considered doing that. But it got my attention. It did not go unnoticed. When the tarot does this, it's trying to get your attention. All these major arcana cards, it's telling a story. But I am not going to discuss classified intelligence information on a public forum. Not going to do it. You could take a look at John's Tarot, JohnsTarot.net, and it might be up there. But I'm not going to do it on a public forum. So let's move on to the next reading. So it was done by somebody internally, probably anonymous, or the Democratic Party. And that helps. That helps a little bit. That helps me a little bit. It helps me understand. Let me shuffle the deck, and I'm going to ask one more question. So I did something a little different this week. I'm not going live on Twitch. This is on YouTube. This is on Facebook. If you're viewing this on Facebook, I'm changing that around. I used to be John's Tarot, 2 words, John Tarot. Now it's just 1 word, John's Tarot. So look for John's Tarot. That's where I'm going to be posting from now on. I'm trying to get away from that other page because the 1 word John's Tarot page, that gives you more options to do things. So this question I'm going to ask about 3 cards. What can we expect with the decrease in our healthcare services? Now, he's decreasing healthcare services all over. The CDC, the NIH, Medicaid, Medicare, the VA. Oh, that's always a bad idea. We had a bad result from that last time. What can we expect with a decrease in all our healthcare services? The first card will be the 7 of Pentacles. Second card, I'll just do 3 cards on this because I'm running over. I try to keep it down to a half an hour or so. Second card, the Sun. Okay. And then the third card is the 6 of Pentacles, or 6 of Swords. Bring these down a little bit more. And I'll throw a couple of runes on them. Odin and Freya, please help guide this reading. What can we expect from these decrease in healthcare resources? Do we have a reason to be afraid? 8 of Swords, the Sun, and the 6 of Swords. The 8 of Swords. Langus, the name of that rune, has to do with currents and currents of time, currents of events, going in and out. The Sun. And then this rune is called Orthelia and has to do with inheritance and sometimes stripping away in order to see and collect your inheritance. And then the third rune, is Sulu, and that is the Sig rune. So I'm going to read these and then we'll wrap this up for today. So the 8 of Swords has, you see a woman with a blindfold on, tied up, surrounded by swords. The truth is all around us. The truth of the situation should be plain for us to see, but we're blinded. And it asks us to take a look at it from a different perspective, because the truth is certainly there. In regards to the question I posted, what can we expect? We're going to have health problems, and that's just the truth of it. You start withdrawing health resources, you're going to have health problems. And in the past, now we have just come out of a major pandemic. I don't know if there's going to be another pandemic, but there are going to be waves of health problems. They're having problems with measles already in some of the states. I think we're going to have problems with childhood diseases. We're going to have problems with diseases that were once easily treated with minor vaccinations. That wave is going to. It did recede with COVID went out. Now it's going to come. The tide is going to come back in, and it's plain to see if we take another look at it. It's the Sun. Look, Mom. Look. Overcoming obstacles. So although we're going to be faced with many of these obstacles, we have been through much worse, I think, than what we can expect. We're going to have some tough times come up, but we have just gotten through some very tough times, a once in 100-year experience. And those of us that are still alive, we overcame it. We overcame those obstacles. We know how to overcome those obstacles. We know how to face those difficulties. And we're going to do it again. We're going to be faced with difficulties, but we know how to overcome those difficulties. And that's going to mean things like masking up when you go to the store, staying in closer touch with if you are lucky enough to have insurance and to have a primary care physician, following their advice, and doing the smart things that we know that need to be done. And that's how we're going to overcome the next 4 years. Let's say 3 years, 10 months, because it's going to be tough. The rune is Orthelia. This is just our karma to be born during this period of time and to have these kind of things happen. Our health care is being stripped away from us. Medicaid is being stripped away from us. Veterans' health is being stripped away from us. Vaccinations being stripped away from us in order to get through the truth. And the truth of the matter is that we have the smarts, we have the abilities, we have the technology, like with the internet, to make smart healthcare decisions and not let the government make our healthcare decisions. We need to get a hold of our congressmen and our representatives in order to start reinstating some of these things. I think we can expect some difficult health times. And then the Six of Swords, that is somebody who has the ability to help. Somebody like myself. I have the ability to help and to guide you and to get you through more difficult times. You can certainly tune into me. Send me an email if you like a reading. We'll set up a reading, make an appointment. We'll do a reading time for you. Healthcare decisions I want you to make with your doctor. Well, we could take a look at different choices, different ideas. I want also the Six of Swords has to do with your physicians, has to do with your healthcare professionals that are already in your life, and that the wisdom that you're bringing with you out of the pandemic. How did you survive the pandemic? That you know how to do that, and you know how to help others survive too. Because the rune Sulo, that has to do with success and winning over challenges. It has to do with light over darkness. And if you are a person who was watching this podcast or listening to this podcast, you are obviously a light worker and somebody who's interested in light over darkness. So, until next week.
Goodbye, Professor Marvel, and thanks a lot.
It was my pleasure. Come and join me next week as we take a look at the different issues that are in the news, and I try to offer you my perspective for whatever it's worth. And we'll do this. We'll get through all this. We'll get through this together. There we go. Got a little bigger. We'll get through this together, one day at a time. And remember, have courage, find faith, be careful, be cool, be kind. And I will see you all next week. All right. Bye-bye.